Hello, everyone. This is the second online reading of my book, Soul Cats. Yeah, so I'm actually reading from a real book, How Feline Friends Teach Us to Live from the Heart. So welcome, everyone. I'm glad you made it here for around about half an hour. So I'm just going to read a couple of chapters across my book, Soul Cats, for you. And please feel free to ask any questions in the comments. So as I'm streaming with StreamYard, you see a link above this video image, and you can just click on this link and allow StreamYard to display your Facebook username in the comments so that I can see who you are. So just let me know if technology is working, if you can see me, and if you can clearly hear me. That would be great. So it seems technology is working, so that's awesome. So then let's get started with the first chapter. So I need my glasses for the reading part here. So let's get started. The first chapter I'm going to read for you from my book is Pajama Parts and Paper Balls. And here is Hubertus. He's joining us as well. That's lovely. Pajama Parts and Paper Balls. We don't know how much about Mac's past except for what he revealed via animal communication in the chapter King of the Strays. We can assume that his long life on a farm kept him from getting neutered for a long time. Max had taken a special liking to the top part of one of my old pajama sets. I had not meant to throw it out yet, but I let him have it when he requested it. He enjoyed tremendously carrying this piece around with him, finding a corner and having fun with it, as cats would. That meant he still had a lot of testosterone in his body. Every few days he looked for this top and walked around the apartment with it. I kept putting it upstairs in the bedroom so he could find it easily. He took it in his mouth and usually went down the stairs with it. He did all that very skillfully and never tripping over his paws. Every now and then he would walk to his food with the pajama top in his mouth, put it down, and take a bite to eat. Then he took it back in his mouth and went into a corner and played with it. Max had developed this habit early on and kept it almost to the end, even in the last weeks of his life. It gave me a clear signal that Max was living in the here and now and that he was enjoying life in the best way possible in the moment. Another one of his likes was to be the best goalie in the paper ball game. I don't remember exactly how it all came about. At some point, I took filling paper from a package, crumpled it up, and playfully tossed it to him. I wanted to see if he liked it. Max wasn't one to touch traditional cat toys. Well, I think he wasn't familiar with them, and he found it addictive to chase a fishing rod or a string. Flix, on the other hand, liked it very much. Flix also liked his snuggle toys and catnip. But for Max, it was a strange world. He preferred more practical things, like pajama parts and paper balls. So we started to play with paper balls. We practiced shooting at the goal wall. For that, Max took up his position on the little red carpet we had in the hallway. He was the goalie, so to speak. We threw paper balls at him, and he became really good at catching them. He enjoyed it immensely, and so did we. Particularly, his cat dad had quite a few wonderful moments playing the paper ball game. Michael Mauer started to call Max Max Neuer, referring to Germany's national soccer goalkeeper Manuel Neuer. So let's go to the next chapter. I'm going to read for you. It is called Heart Form, Soul Form. What a great surprise I found cleaning the cat litter box. Flix left me a slightly belated Valentine's greeting, a peat heart. Max had done this too after each successful surgery. Slowly, the thought of living a life without Max became reality. Although without Max isn't entirely accurate. I feel Max very often. I frequently feel his energy. It feels good, makes my heart beat faster, and fills me with deep joy. It makes me so happy on the inside, even if I miss him physically. It's as if he wanted to say, I'm here, all is well. Flix obviously saw it that way too. Max was often with us, and everything was fine. And Flix got better every day, with Max by his side, Max in soul form. In this way, the two spent many sunny afternoons in the living room. 1 month after Max's death, I informed the animal health practitioner, who had also drawn up a therapy plan for Max. He had sent me a text that really touched me, and here it goes. The beginning of the rainbow. Exactly where the sky is most beautiful, there is a place where the beginning of the rainbow can be found. Anangal. When an animal's time here on earth is over, it leaves for Anangal. All the animals that were sick and old get their strength and health back. All who were injured or crippled will be whole again. Animals may stay in Anangal until their human has said goodbye to them for good. Only then do they set off. It is their last journey on earth. Their path leads them over the rainbow into the land of light and of love. There where we're all at home. Awana Eater. The next chapter is called He Wanted to Wake Us Again in the Mornings. Flix had been somewhat overshadowed by Max. For one, Max was almost twice as tall. Max was also just the more extroverted cat, and of course, Max was undisputedly the boss cat. In addition, Max's CKD had required a certain level of attention, as did the two dental restorations long before we found out about the cancer. Fortunately, Flix didn't need this level of attention and care until recently. His kidneys were relatively healthy for his age, and he had his vomiting under control through rebuilding of his intestinal flora. After we had successfully survived the first days and weeks following Flix surgery, and he was able to eat by himself again and go to the litter box, it was now a matter of helping him find his way back into his cat life. He had to learn many things anew, things that seemed quite normal, such as locating, grabbing, and eating treats, walking over objects, jumping on the sofa, going upstairs. Since he clearly had a tilt to his head, we naturally wanted to try to improve that. In the weeks after Mark's death, Flix surpassed all expectations, seemed healthier than ever before. He developed strength, self-esteem, and a much deeper trust. I have to emphasize again and again how many hurdles he had to clear at the same time. On the one hand, he had to deal with the loss of Mac's physical presence. Then he had to recover from the physical strains of his surgery and its after effects. He was one of the few cases where the neurological system deteriorates. His neurological system now had to be supported, strengthened, and trained so he could find his way back to his cat life step by step. It was our guiding principle that everything should go at Flick's pace. Under no circumstances should he feel stressed because we had unrealistic expectations of him. And that meant that we supported him in what he wanted to do himself. That we asked him to play, but we ignored his tilted head, except that we often massaged his neck because we knew that this symptom might possibly remain. The most important requirement for Flick's mental and physical recovery was that he could see Max again, at least for 24 hours. They could say goodbye to each other, say everything that still had to be said. Flix was calm when Max's soul left his body. In retrospect, I cannot stress enough how important it is for animals to be able to say goodbye to each other, and that they were given the opportunity whenever possible. He no longer had his loyal friend, protector, and savior Max by his side. He had to be strong by himself, take everything in his own paws that Max had done for him before. It was he who had to make decisions alone now. He grew into this role just fine. And now Flix had the undivided attention of his staff. Again and again, I encouraged him to grab treats and eat them. At first, he had difficulty locating them because his head was tilted and his world therefore looked slanted as well. He had to completely relearn and modify familiar routine patterns of movements. Imagine for a moment that you see everything on a slanted plane. Furthermore, imagine that you have to re-coordinate your limbs appropriately to do everyday things like running straight, turning corners, going to the bathroom, putting food in your mouth, drinking water, and climbing stairs. We made the first progress with treats in the activity feeder. This provided 7 different fields that trained different senses. Little by little, he learned again to grab his beloved treats, to take them out, and to eat them. You could see how much he enjoyed it when he mastered something and he could reward himself with a treat. And I praised my beloved Flix a lot. You can see I showered him with praise every time and immediately after he had grabbed the treat. Flix was extremely self motivated at all times to find his way back into his cat life. We could only help. I never saw him sad, depressed, or disillusioned, and never, even though he faced great physical limitation at first. There is no doubt that he trained himself. He wanted to be able to do everything again, wanted to have a joyful life again, playing with streets and keeping himself busy. After 1 week, he could eat his moist food without any assistance. Here too, it was funny at first to see him approach the feeding bowl because, due to the tilted posture of his head, he approached the bowl in a slightly circular fashion from the outside and ate his food from the outside in. It was very similar as drinking. He sat in front of the water bowl and wondered how he should do it now. Here too, he approached it in a circle from the outside in. Snipping water from the outer rear edge has remained his preferred practice to this day. In the first few weeks, climbing stairs was out of the question. We were overjoyed that he could walk straight and navigate around corners. Then he slowly started to stand up by the stairs. Little by little, he learned how to climb stairs. He wanted to wake us up again in the morning. It was February, almost 8 weeks after his surgery, when he learned again to walk up the stairs, step by step. One paw on one step, then pull the others up, then the next step, and so on until he had reached the top. What a milestone! Going down was harder. That took a lot more time, so we always carried him down during this phase. This incredible display of trust from this wonderful cat still gives me goosebumps. Almost 3 months after the operation, he was able to walk down the stairs by himself. We practiced that with him, encouraged him when he signaled that he wanted to practice, took breaks on the stairs, always being by his side. He leaned against the wall for additional support. Before he was able to go down the stairs, he learned to jump onto the sofa. He kept walking past the sofa, looking up longingly, but somehow he didn't know how to do it. At first, I always picked him up, but he wanted to be able to do it again himself. He stood in front of it and thought about it. He's a very contemplative personality anyway. Something in me told me that he was brooding too much about it, that he would need a little more self-confidence and courage. An idea came to me during my energy clearing work, like the clearing of energetic blockages in the auric field, as well as clearing of karmic blockages, which I had learned as well. I tuned into Flick's feelings, connected with his higher self, and manifested for him that he had all the power, strength, and vitality and ability to jump onto the sofa. I cleared the existing energetic blockages that stood in the way. He was looking at me from a few feet away when I was doing this energetic clearing work. He immediately understood what I had initiated for him. Half an hour later, Flix jumped onto the sofa. What an incredible joy for Cat and Cat Mom. Tears of joy without end. From that moment on, something fundamentally changed. He was so happy with himself that he could now do almost everything again that was so important to him. Much of it had to do with his ability to interact with his humans. Soon after mastering the sofa came accomplishing the stairs. He could now resume his routine, which was making sure that the staff went to sleep and would get up again the next morning. Next, we started working on the cat trees in a playful way. There was the large cat tree, the ceiling clamping unit, and a smaller one in the living room, as well as another smaller one in my study and a partial cupboard cat tree in Michael's study. At first, I made the mistake of putting him on the first or second level of the big cat tree. I figured that he should be able to climb up and down from there, but this was not so. He didn't climb up himself. He clearly didn't know how to get up. He became very stressed trying to come down. He jumped down from much too great a height and, as expected, landed badly. I didn't learn until later that it was very important that he could climb up himself. So we shifted our efforts to the smaller cat tree, the bottom step of which was significantly lower. From this level, he had the opportunity to stretch and climb into his cave. He did that in April, a little more than 3 months after the surgery. Lured with treats, he learned to jump to the first level. When he felt safe doing it, more treats followed at the entrance to the cave. For many days, they were just lying there. Then he started pulling them down with his paw. Clever cat. In early May, the time had come when he was able to climb back into his cave for the first time. I cried with joy, just as I did when he took the first steps up the stairs and the first jump onto the sofa. It took all of his senses and all his strength as he heaved himself into the cave. But here too, he showed strong will, determination, and motivation, and an incredible joy when he succeeded in something, when he mastered a challenge with bravura. So we go to the next chapter, and this is called Hello Max Conversations with Departed Animals. Now comes a chapter where you might shake your head and think, how is that supposed to work? I can only say it works. And I had the privilege of learning it too. And yes, I also use it for my own and other and client animals. As with everything, the truth is that practice, perfect practice, makes perfect. As already described in the chapter from an energetic viewpoint, everything is energy and everything is connected to everything else. Max's soul has moved on. He just left his body behind. In my third seminar on animal communication in May, we covered the topic of communication with departed animals. The principle is the same. First, you bring yourself into a relaxed state, bring the brain waves into a calm state, make contact through the eyes of the animal, and establish a heart connection. In my group doing the exercise, 3 people also spoke to Max, and Sylvia did as well. What we all received from Max has given a well-rounded picture. Max has a job in Rainbow Land. He takes care of the newcomers. He said that there are many arrivals that never had it nearly as good as he did. His time with us was the best of his life, even when he was sick. because he received so much love. He found it wonderful that he could live in his own way. He said his soul had loosened like a rubber band, and then he just flew away. That was exactly the feeling he imagined and wished for. Just fly away when the time comes. He was happy where he was now. I was deeply touched. My heart was overflowing with love for my Max, and my eyes were full of tears. He said that he would continue to accompany us because his task was not yet completed, and he would send someone to us when it was the right timing. I also met two great women in this course, Kristen and Kirsten. Since then, we have always helped each other with our animals and with animals of clients. We have also supported each other on our individual path. I also had some wonderful conversations with Max. In many situations when animals were getting ready to go to Rainbow Land, Max was always there. It became his job to take care of the newcomers, especially animals that Kristen and I worked with. Max was often there when the animal souls crossed the rainbow bridge. The following is a particularly good conversation that shows Max's wisdom and the role he took with me. In 2019, I found a senior red cat on the Instagram account of the Lions Animal Shelter. He moved me very much, and I seriously considered adopting him. Max saw it like this. Max thinks I'm reacting to the pet on red cat and I should get rid of it first. In addition, the current timing would not be good because of the newly achieved level of harmony with Flix and Howie. Howie came to us in mid-2017. You will find out how in the next chapters. And also because of Howie's aches and pains, he doesn't think they were easy to handle. Max said, stay tuned, absolutely. You can't do everything at the same time, he said. He also reminded me of the Soul Cat's book, this one, very seriously. Otherwise, he was very satisfied with me, will continue to accompany me on my path. I should learn to accept and implement everything that I experience, bit by bit. My teacher, Toby, would think highly of me. If he was demanding, it would be because he wanted to draw something out of me. I told Max something else. My dear friend Fiona Oakes in England lost Teddy Friday today, a very old horse that already had 2 strokes. When his horse friend William left a few weeks ago, it quickly became clear that Teddy Freddy would follow soon. Can you check on Teddy Freddy, please? I asked Max. Sure, it's my job here, Max said proudly. I thank you from the bottom of my heart, dear Max. Great, Max knows and will see Teddy Freddy, and that's what he did. I read one last chapter for you. It's called The Universe Arranged Everything Perfectly. On July 19th, we had a checkup at the veterinary clinic because of Flick's blood pressure and his kidney test levels. To be precise, we had moved the date from July 21st to July 19th because I really wanted to have a neurology appointment for Flick's as well. You remember that Flick's falls worried me, and I really wanted to have it checked neurologically. We both went with him to the appointment in the morning. Flix was energetically prepared and informed via animal communication that today was about his blood pressure and blood test and the neurology appointment. We came into the cat waiting room and sat down with Flix. And then a cat meowed, heartbreaking, like an arrow through the heart. And meowed again, actually incessantly. The humans of the meowing cat were from the Hano animal shelter. The tomcat probably had some issues with the intestines and pancreas. He just kept meowing. I got into a conversation with a lady and we exchanged email addresses. I assured her that I would send her a document on alternative therapies from pancreatic disease. Then it was our turn, but the meowing never got out of my head and certainly not out of my heart. Howie was the name of the meowing cat. Flick's blood pressure was good, considering the circumstances. It was measured 3 times to get the correct number. You measure blood pressure until it stops falling. In this case, it took 3 measurements. In other cases, it can require more. Our vet who our cardiologist attached great importance to ensuring that it was done correctly. Otherwise, cats will be given medication that they do not need. Flick's blood pressure was well regulated. His medication was kept at the same dose. Little Flicks usually made himself comfortable on her lap for these procedures, humming, of course. Then we moved to another cat consulting room, waiting for the neurologist. As always, with such appointments, I sent videos in advance so the vet had a chance to see what I had described. After reviewing the videos and doing a general urological examination, the neurologist was satisfied with our Flicks. Yes, he thought that one fall indicated a seizure event. Nevertheless, he would not recommend any further diagnosis, especially if it did not occur frequently, since his general condition was good and he had mastered the whole situation very well for his 17 years. Then we left the consulting room and passed by Howie and his humans again. Howie continued to meow. Hit me right in the heart. Every time. We drove home with Flicks. He let himself be pampered and indulged in a well-deserved rest. I couldn't get Howie out of my mind, and certainly not out of my heart. My research on the website of the Hano Animal Shelter revealed wonderful pictures of a small, gentle tomcat, 16 years old, who ended up in the animal shelter because of the death of his human caretaker. He had been there for a few months, alone, grieving. He wanted a family so badly. Howie, it's him. He is the one Max wanted to send us when the time came. A gentle soul, a soul that wouldn't take advantage of Flick's situation. That was his requirement for a feline buddy. All these thoughts shot through my head. I called the lady at the animal shelter, and she was very happy that I not only wanted to help her with Howie, but that we were actually interested in adopting him. We quickly made an appointment for the following Saturday so that we could get to know him, and of course, he could get to know us too. I immediately obtained her consent that we could talk to Howie before our visit on Saturday. Okay, who else had to be asked? Max and Flicks, of course. I got in touch with Max. He was suddenly there, very present when I was lying on the sofa. After some general banter, I asked Max if he had sent us Howie. Yes, Howie desperately needs a family, he said. A wounded soul with a few physical ailments. He needs love, care, and a home where he's understood and accepted. He would be just the right friend for Flicks, Max said. Howie was wise, gentle, by no means an alpha cat like himself. He would just let Flicks be Flicks, so everything was just right. What would Flicks say about that? I explained everything to him, who Howie was, what kind of soul he was, and what kind of problems he would bring with him, and that he was Flicks's age. Flicks was pretty positive about the prospect. He said, if Howie were really like I said, it should work out fine. And Flicks also said, if someone needs help, then we help. Thank you, my dear Flicks. The following Saturday, we visited Howie in Hanau. We spent an hour with him in his cat dwelling. He was very open and was happy that we visited him. After a few minutes, I was able to caress him in his cat cave. He was very excited and certainly wanted to do his best. He came out of his cave and was unmistakably proud that he had visitors. He immediately snuggled up to Michael and then sat down in the center of his cat dwelling and put down a little pile that actually belonged in the litter box. It was quite funny. Howie moved in with us the following Monday. Thank you so much for staying here with me, for listening to a couple of chapters from my book, Soul Cats. So if you haven't had a chance to read it already, you find it on Amazon as a paperback, as an ebook, or as an audiobook, and also in other bookshops. Yeah, please let me know in the comments how you liked it. If you'd like to have more online readings, I'm happy to do that. And yeah, if you have a chance to read the book, I hope I could inspire you to do so. I would be very grateful if you could leave a review about Soul Cats on Amazon. If you want to learn more about myself and the work I do, what you probably have seen in other videos, you can always go to my website. The website is called soul-cats.com. So soul-cats.com. Just put a dash between soul and cats.com and then you get there. So there are more information about the energetic clearing work I do, about the trauma clearing work. And you can also learn a lot more about how to know if your cat is traumatized, you might need some support. Happy to do that and enjoy the rest of your day. Have a great day and I hope to see you soon here. Thank you very much. Bye.